All right, we're going to take you back to Adelaide now, where our reporter Elise Baker has more on the man's body who was found inside a home in Somerton Park. Elise, it's over to you.
And Natalia, we have just had confirmation that the victim here is former AFL football player and current coach of the Adelaide Crows, Phil Walsh. So the body of Phil Walsh was found at this home at around 2 o'clock this morning here on Bungie Avenue at Somerton Park after there was a report of a domestic dispute. Now, his son, a 26-year-old man, has been arrested over this alleged murder. So just confirming again, we've had confirmation that the victim here at this murder here at Somerton Park is the Adelaide's coach, Phil Walsh.
And Elise, what more do we know about the condition of the victim's wife? And also, she's in hospital this morning, we understand?
Yes, she's also been taken to hospital, and all we know about her condition is that she is suffering from non-life-threatening injuries. So, obviously this news is just going to rock the local community here in Adelaide and also the football community across the country.
Absolutely, Elise. Phil Walsh, as you said, the coach of the Adelaide Crows. This is a huge story in Adelaide. Has there been any reaction so far?
Well, as I said, this has only just been confirmed. We understand his next of kin has only just been notified. We understand his daughter is overseas and she's just received that devastating news. But obviously, now that this is getting out there, of course, I'm sure this is going to rock not only the community here in Adelaide, but also across the country.
All right, Elise, thank you for the update. And Sylvia and Carl, this is a huge story. It's over to you.
Yeah, no, it's terrible news, isn't it? Look, any murder is terrible. But he's very high profile and he's played, had associations with many clubs, and there are going to be a lot of people around this country this morning feeling that very keenly, his murder this morning. And Nathan Brown is with us now, an AFL legend himself. Nathan, for the community itself at the moment, tough news.
Absolutely shocking, Carl. Everybody knows Phil Walsh. The AFL is a big community, but in such a sense it's a small community, and I'm unbelievable. I'm shocked at the moment beside myself that a lot of players are going to wake up today and be on their way to training and find out this news. I don't see how this game can go ahead. They played Geelong on Sunday. He played at my old club, Richmond. He played for Collingwood. He played for Brisbane. He's been at West Coast. So he's been at half the AFL clubs. This is going to touch so many people, and this sort of thing just doesn't happen. And all of a sudden, you wake up to this news, and I thought it was a joke when I first heard it this morning, but your hearts go out to the family and, unbelievably, the AFL community.
Well, on a family level, it's a terrible tragedy. His son in police custody at the moment, his wife in hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, as we heard. But for the AFL community, it's just deeply shattering. He demanded respect, didn't he, as a coach? And he was someone who received that respect and was known for being a very firm coach and someone who lived and breathed the sport.
He did, and he was a tactical genius. He was the first coach that brought in the full ground press and really rejuvenated West Coast. He was part of the Port Adelaide Premiership in 2004 under Mark Williams. And to hear this news this morning, I just can't imagine how you could play as a footballer this weekend, knowing that your coach, the man you look up to, the man you idolise, the man you get out there every week for, he's not going to be around. And Taylor Walker's the captain of that football club. He's a very emotional man and a Channel 9 person. So hearts go out to them, hearts go out to his family and his wife in hospital, and you just can't believe it's happened.
We have got some live shots. We'll continue to bring you whatever happens at the scene this morning, but the police investigation is continuing there. They've been there since about 2 o'clock this morning, so dealing with all the fallout. We'll continue to bring you any more information or any further information that comes from there, and also the hospital where his wife is this morning. Just in terms of Phil, I know I was reading a couple of weeks ago, I think it was in The Age, a story about his battles with trying to separate. And now this would be every coach in the league, I'm sure, that would go through all this, but trying to separate work from life and trying to get a better balance of that happening. I mean, it's pretty well known that he was fighting that fight, as well as, I guess, and gather, many other coaches around the place.
And the club had told him that too. The club had told him you need to find a better battle. You need a balance, because if you're going to just coach, you're going to burn out very quickly and you're going to put players offside. And he decided a few weeks ago he was going to change that. He was an assistant coach for some 15 to 16 years. He was hit by a bus in Peru a couple of years ago, nearly died, woke up in his hospital bed and decided, I've been wasting my time as an assistant coach. I want to become a senior coach. Did everything he can, and he's had Adelaide playing some great football. They're in the 8 at the moment, looking like playing finals, and this news will just rock everybody.
He was quoted, I think it was just a couple of weeks ago, and Tally found this, one of the biggest things I've tried to change, he said, over the years, and I haven't been able to be very good at it, is taking work home. He said turning 55 next month. I remember one year I snapped at my son over something he said. Footy's started again, has it, Dad? He replied to me, and that really rocked me. So, again, back to that work-life balance for any coach out there, and the pressures. I mean, they're just people, aren't they? But the pressures are significant.
And in contrast, or in light of what's happened here, those words are chilling, aren't they? Absolutely chilling. And the personal tragedy here is immeasurable. There's no question. But when you look from an AFL's perspective and the areas, the clubs, the people that his life has touched, turned 55 in March. You mentioned 2004. Now, Mark Williams was the coach of our team in that E.J. Whitten side the other night. It was all jovial and laughter, and Mark Williams obviously had his own battle with cancer. He's assistant coach in 2004. Brisbane Bears, they were known as, when he got the player of the season. He played for your club, Richmond. Collingwood, he was born in rural Victoria. He's a guy that knows and loves sport all around the world. There's a real dimension and complexity to his character, and that's been known for a long time.
Yeah, without a doubt. I grew up in Hamilton, which is in Western Victoria, and played for the 2 biggest clubs in the competition in the 80s in Richmond and Collingwood. So, I mean, the amount of people this would touch and go deep for, and Brisbane Lions as part of that inaugural side in 87, won their best and fairest in their first year. And was just a man who demanded respect. He loved football, he was a teetotaler, he loved sport in general. And to lose him in these circumstances, it's unprecedented. I don't know how the AFL respond to this. I don't know whether the game doesn't go ahead. I'm not sure about tonight's game, but I couldn't imagine that the game on Sunday against Geelong in Adelaide would go ahead. I don't want to put words in the AFL's mouth, but it's going to be hard for the players. Well,
first of all, it will be up to them to, I gather, communicate with those players and see how they are. I mean, they put player safety ahead of everything else, don't they? The AFL, as evidenced by the last couple of weeks. But just a bit of the information around about this guy. There's plenty around, even on the AFL's own website. This from 9 months ago. It said that, as you mentioned, Timmy nearly died 2 years ago when he was hit by a bus. He said, I saw the light, I had the drowning sensation, I thought I'd die. He was then an assistant coach at West Coast when he fractured his pelvis and collarbone, was able to convince local doctors and his insurance company to fly him home to Australia for the surgery. He had post-accident written a list of things he wanted to achieve in life, and they included speaking fluent Japanese. So he was listening to language tapes on his headphones or riding his bike to work every day. You know, so he was very much a man who was, although concentrating on his job, was trying to get and achieve that balance outside of the sporting realm.
He had a rule after 5 p.m. his phone went off, and any player that wanted to contact him had to wait till the next day. And sometimes the players, if they had contacted him, they'd find a text message back at 2 and 3 in the morning because he was that devoted to football. He was up planning what was going to be this week and trying to dismantle the opposition's forces that week at 2 and 3 in the morning. So he's a man who didn't sleep a hell of a lot, and he just devoted his life to football and his family, and unfortunately this has happened.
Just to hang on a second, Tim, we're just going to go to Emily Rice's at AFL headquarters. Now we'll come back to you, Tim, in just a second. But Emily, it's shocking news for the AFL to try and deal with this morning, as well as the community.
Yeah, that's the word, Carl. Absolute shock. Now, this will be a huge shock for not only management, but the community, but players and officials across the country. That's because Phil Walsh, while he only joined the Crows last year, he had a 20-year association with several clubs, including Port Adelaide and the West Coast. He was also a highly respected player, playing 122 AFL games. He was a man with a great football mind, and he was also quite publicity shy and devoted to his family. He grew up here in Hamilton, in Victoria, where most of his family still are, and they'll be feeling the reverberations this morning, no doubt. Now, we haven't yet heard any official statement from the AFL, but no doubt they will be discussing how to deal with this absolutely shocking turn of events. We'll be on standby for any updates as they happen, Carl.
All right, Emily, thank you for that. Yeah, dealing with this, you have to be I would imagine, almost unprecedented, Timmy.
Yeah, well, we don't want to go deep into prognostications about what's going to happen here, but look, Nathan just touched on an interesting thing with the AFL. If we can separate the tragedy here and think about what's going on, if there wasn't a game on last night, you would think if this happened today and the competition round was going to start tonight, they'd almost immediately just say, well, it's off, the whole round's off, including tonight's blockbuster with Hawthorn and Collingwood. But now that they've played a game, it really does put them in a difficult position. I know that they're going to be thinking about it right at the moment, because you would think that not only the Adelaide players, but everyone connected with AFL will be like all of us here, absolutely gobsmacked, and more than that, never be in a state of mind to play football.
Makes it unbelievably hard. Even West Coast, where he was only a couple of years ago, those players loved him over there. I know the fitness coach personally over there said he was an unbelievable character, was just the hardest working person he's ever met. And to say that in a football term, you hear so many people say that about Phil Walsh. You hear a lot about how hard people work, but it was Phil Walsh is the hardest worker that is on this planet in football.
And as Timmy pointed out so accurately before when we were talking about this, it is so widespread, his contact in the game, because of having played and had involvement with so many clubs. There's going to be almost every club that's feeling it really, really personally today, not just as an associate, but as a personal contact with him directly and his family.
And that's why I don't think that the players will be able to... And you want to take the AFL out of it for a minute because it's a family tragedy, but those players are expected to perform a service this weekend, and I just don't think you'd be able to muster up the energy to do that this weekend.
Yeah. Well, it is first and foremost a family tragedy, and the family house this morning in Adelaide is a crime scene. We're looking at live pictures there. Our reporter Elise Baker has been following developments at the scene this morning for us. Elise, a terrible tragedy for the family, the Adelaide community and the AFL community as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. There's neighbours in the area here who are just starting to wake up to the news, and they're absolutely shocked. I mean, we're here in Somerton Park. This is quite an affluent area, and they're just so surprised that something like this could have happened here. So police are expected to give us more details in about 15 minutes to half an hour when they're expected to hold a press conference. We've only got a few details at this stage. What we do know is that police and ambulance crews were called to the home here at about 2 o'clock this morning after reports of a domestic dispute. Once they arrived, they found the body of a 55-year-old man who we now know is the body of the Crows coach, Phil Walsh, and they've since detained his 26-year-old son and they've taken him away for questioning. Now, his wife has also been taken to hospital. She's being treated for non-life-threatening injuries, but as I said, police are expected to hold a press conference in about 15 minutes to half an hour, so hopefully we'll have some more details then. But yeah, such a shocking story, and it's sure to rock not just the community here in Adelaide, which, you know, really does follow its AFL football, but also the whole country.